Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to be talking about something that I knew I was going to have to talk about as soon as I saw it because it keeps flexing at me, which I think is an intimidation tactic. Still, despite this intimidation tactic being successful, I'll soldier on and talk about it anyway, because I'm a professional, sort of. So let's get right into it and talk about the flexing plane, or maybe the Wario plane if you prefer. This is the Blohm Voss P188. First, I want to briefly talk about Blohm Voss, the company, because their origin is rather interesting. The company originally started back in 1877 as a shipbuilding company and still exists today. However, by 1933, the company was in a dire financial state due to the overall lack of work that they had, and they decided to try and fix this by venturing into aircraft manufacturing, with a focus on flying boats. With this move, and with the rise of the Nazi Party leading to military rearmament, Blohm Voss would have a great deal of work now. Their original shipbuilding wing would have a great deal of work in building warships, and in particular U-boats, and would even be a beneficiary of concentration camp slave labor. In fact, Blohm Voss still pays an undisclosed amount of money to a German government fund because of their participation in Nazi prison labor. Their aircraft manufacturing wing, in the meantime, got the vast majority of its work by producing contracted planes for other companies. Still, despite this wing basically being a subcontractor, Blohm Voss still had their own design team making original designs. For those of you familiar with Blohm Voss aircraft, the first thing you may think of is something like the BV-141, famous for being oddly asymmetrical. The BV-141 is probably their most well-known plane, despite it not being adopted, but Blohm Voss as a whole was probably the largest purveyor of bizarre and out-there aircraft designs in Nazi Germany. Many of them never left the drawing board, to be fair, but Blohm Voss seemed to be really pushing the envelope of conventional aircraft design. So this takes us to later on in World War II, around 1943, where the Ministry of Aviation would make a request for a long-range heavy jet bomber. This may have been due to the overall poor performance of the Heinkel HE-177, or the testing success of the AR-234 jet bomber, or perhaps some combination of both. Meanwhile, Blohm Voss, while designing other bizarre aircraft, was doing research into swept-wing aircraft, which were still in their relative infancy around this time, looking at both normal swept-wing designs and forward swept-wing designs. In their research, they found that each different wing sweep had its advantages and disadvantages. Normal swept wings help decrease drag at higher speeds and increase stability for tailless aircraft, while also suffering from pitch-up issues at lower speeds and higher angles of attack. Forward swept wings, on the other hand, also decrease drag and offer greater control and maneuverability at low speeds, but suffer from yaw instability that can lead to an aircraft Dutch rolling. Additionally, while not unique to forward-swept wings, they can have a greater issue where repeated stress to the wingtips can cause them to more easily bend, which then leads to control issues down the line. This can also occur on normal swept wings, but ideally is less of an issue. So, Blohm Voss decided, considering the advantages and disadvantages of different swept wing configurations, that they would try and make the best of both worlds and make a wing with a normal sweep and a forward sweep, thus creating the P188. Apparently, one of the main reasons for doing this was the issue of the wingtip bending. Again, while less of an issue on normal swept wings, the general aerodynamic pressure, along with the lack of rigidity of older plane materials, can cause the wingtips to bend and reduce their lift on normal swept wings, while forward swept wings bend and increase lift. While today we can use things like carbon fiber to counter this and make the material more rigid, they didn't really have that back in the 1940s, So Blohm and Voss did this. If the inner half of the wing bent and reduced the lift, then the outer half of the wing would also bend and increase lift, thus canceling each other out. Additionally, the wings would have variable incidence, meaning they could angle themselves up or down by a few degrees to assist in the plane's takeoff. Now, apart from these unique wings, the rest of the 188's design was pretty standard looking. Blohm and Voss would present to the Ministry of Aviation a total of 4 variants of the 188, all with minor differences. The first variant is the one on screen now. 4 engines, all Junkers Umo 4C turbojet engines. Because they predicted that the 188 would have a rather high top speed on account of the 4 jet engines, it would not be outfitted with any defensive weaponry at all in order to save on weight, and would simply be expected to outrun any attackers. It would carry an internal bomb payload upwards of around 2,000 kilos or 4,400 pounds. The second variant would change the tail section from a standard single tail to a twin fin design, and defensive weaponry was added to it. 2 MG-131 machine guns were in the tail section, 2 MG-151 cannons were in the nose, and 2 more MG-151s were in the rear section of the fuselage. The third variant would go back to the original single-tail design, and the engines would be adjusted this time. Instead of 4 individual engine nacelles, there would be 2 nacelles with a pair of engines in each. In theory, this would reduce the drag and increase the overall speed of the 188 upwards of just over 500 miles an hour, potentially even up to around 550 miles an hour. The final variant would have a slightly slimmer fuselage and added defensive weaponry once again. It also carried additional fuel in the fuselage, and as a result, the bomb payload could not be kept internally and would have to be kept externally. Those were the 4 slightly different variants of the 188. I do think it raises the question of why Blohm and Voss presented 4 different variant designs to the Ministry of Aviation when I assume they probably were just expecting one. Was Blohm and Voss going for some extra credit here? Well, they made 4 designs because of the experimental nature of the wing design. They weren't exactly sure of how a plane with this wing design would perform, nor did they really know where the 4 engines should be located in order to have the most optimal performance. Blohm and Voss certainly had theories about what this wing design could do, but they didn't really know yet. So they made these 4 designs to try and cover their bases in a way, give themselves the best chance of having at least one of them function well and be selected for production. So, of course, none of these designs were selected by the ministry. The reason being was that the wing design was basically untested, and it was considered to be a bit too risky to proceed with construction on such a wild design. Instead, the ministry decided to proceed with a different jet bomber that also had a more experimental wing design, albeit one that was a bit more practical and was being tested by other countries. They went with the Junkers Ju-287 instead, with its forward-swept wings. While forward-swept wings also hadn't been used in Nazi Germany yet, the design was much simpler than the 188 and was more predictable in a sense. In the end, though, as it was not selected by the Ministry of Aviation, the 188 never really left the drawing board and has only ever really existed digitally in drawings and in model form. The Ju-287, the plane that beat it, fared a little bit better, but still didn't amount to much. One 287 prototype would be made and flown, and others would be in the works before the Soviet Union came and took over the Junkers factory, and the 287 was destroyed beforehand so the Soviets couldn't capture it. Even though the 188 was not successful and was never really made or even tested, I do have to raise the question of how the W-shaped wing here of the 188 would have performed. As far as I can find, no plane before or since has really proposed such a design. The closest thing is something like a crescent wing, but none of these come even close to the reverse wing sweep like the 188 did. There has also been research on an M wing, but again, I could not find any plane that actually used this. So if I had to hazard a guess at how the W wing would have performed and what issues it may have, I suspect that the point where the wing reversed the sweep may have been a potential failure point. When air travels over the wing, it also travels along the wing as well. On a normal swept wing, this air sort of collects near the tip and at low speeds or high angles of attack could lead to the tip of the wing stalling out. So in this situation, with effectively two different surfaces funneling air to where a normal swept wing would stall out, would that potentially increase the risk of that section stalling out? Could the midpoint of the wing stall while the rest of the wing didn't? These are questions I really don't have the answer to, and I think it would be interesting to see these concepts explored a bit further, if only out of scientific curiosity. Regardless though, because of the lack of interest in the W-wing design, it seems as though that kind of design of the P-188 is likely to just be a strange one-off, an odd design from a company seemingly obsessed with odd designs. Alright, and with that, I think we'll go ahead and end there. So, thank you all for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. In doing research for this Blohm Voss design, I found so many more Blohm Voss designs that are equally strange. There are just so many bizarre designs that they made that also amounted to basically nothing, but are still interesting to look at and learn about the circumstances of why it was made in the first place. A lot of them you can look at and say, I can see what they were going for, even if they do look really weird and probably wouldn't have worked. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I at least hope you learned something from it. So, see ya!